The week my brother asked me for $15 million, my mother set the table with the fine china she had bought using my credit card 11 years earlier. She didn't remember that part. She placed every plate carefully, as if she were arranging evidence for who in this family deserved the better things in life. Brett sat at the head of the table, where he had always sat. I got the chair beside the drafty storm door, the one with the latch that never quite worked. My name is on a house my parents claim they bought for their son. It has been there for 11 years. No one sitting at that table knew that yet. But the detail that changed everything, the detail none of them remembered, was who had actually been supporting that house all those years. I'll get to that. Stay with me. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories. I'm Georgia, 34, and I built a home care company starting with one client and a used sedan. This is the Christmas my family finally learned what quiet sacrifice had really purchased. If you've ever been the dependable person nobody stopped to appreciate, this story is for you. Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe. I drove down from Columbus the Sunday before Christmas, just like I had every year since moving away. An hour and 15 minutes of flat gray highway, then the familiar turn onto my parents' street in Dayton. The same wreath hung on the door. The same plastic reindeer leaned in the yard. Inside, the starburst clock above the dining table ticked exactly as it had throughout my childhood, loud in the silences between things people wanted to say. My mother, Carol, was pulling a clove-studded ham from the oven, and the smell instantly brought back memories. "Georgia," she said without turning around. "Set the table with the good china. It's in the hutch." I opened the cabinet and found the cream-colored plates with the thin gold trim. I remembered the store. I remembered handing my card to the clerk when I was 23 because my mother's card wasn't working and Brett needed quality dishes for his housewarming. I was never repaid. I never asked. Still, I arranged the plates one at a time, the gold edges catching the light. 6 place settings. Brett's at the head, mine beside the door. My father, Dennis, came in smelling like the garage and patted my shoulder as if I were a package that had arrived on schedule. "There she is," he said, "the busy one." That had always been my title in this house, the busy one, the capable one, the one who didn't need anything. I had paid for more of that room than anyone realized, and I was about to discover exactly what that was worth to them. You learn family mathematics early. Mine was simple. When Brett decided to return to school at 26, my parents paid his tuition twice because the first attempt didn't work out. When his apartment became too expensive, they covered his rent for 2 years and called it a difficult season. When his truck was repossessed, my father drove out before sunrise and paid the lot in cash so the neighbors wouldn't notice. I learned these things through holiday conversations, shared as warm family stories. My own difficult seasons I managed alone because that was my assigned role. At 18, I asked my mother to co-sign a $400 deposit for a studio apartment. She looked over her coffee and said words I would hear in many forms for years. "Honey, we can only back one horse." She meant Brett. She always meant Brett. She believed it completely. A son carried the family forward. A daughter carried herself. So I carried myself. I worked double shifts. I paid that deposit from tips. And every Christmas I came home and watched the one horse receive a little more. Eventually, I convinced myself it no longer bothered me. That Sunday, arranging those gold-rimmed plates I had paid for, I almost believed it. Then my mother smiled and asked how my little caregiving business was doing. I understood immediately, the way you understand weather patterns, that something had already begun. She had never asked before. I simply didn't know yet what she had heard. Here's how I got away. If you think I was the type of woman who sat in that drafty chair and accepted it, I wasn't. I left at 18 with 2 duffel bags and a CNA certificate I had paid for myself. Certified nursing assistant. It meant I could bathe a stranger, lift a grown man who had fallen, and sit beside someone at 3 a.m. when fear arrived. My first real client was a 91-year-old woman named Patricia Vance. She changed my life. Patricia had buried her husband and outlived 2 children. She had no patience for nonsense, including mine. During my first week, I apologized constantly, for traffic, for weather, for existing. Patricia set down her tea and looked at me. "Stop that," she said. "People treat you according to the value you place on yourself. You're giving yourself away for free. I never forgot those words. I started charging what my time was worth. I started saying no. Patricia became the closest thing to a mother I ever had. That may sound strange when talking about a client, but family is usually the people who show up. Over 8 years, I learned something my parents never taught me. Being needed is not the same as being loved. And sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one carrying it. I just hadn't learned how to set the room down yet. That lesson was still ahead, and it arrived wearing a Christmas sweater with my mother's voice behind it. The signature happened when I was 23. By then, I had something my parents suddenly needed: good credit and a little savings. Brett had found a starter ranch house in Dayton with a maple tree in the yard. He wanted it badly. The problem was Brett. 2 repossessions, a terrible credit score, a job he had held for 6 weeks. No lender would approve him a loan. So my parents drove to Columbus one Saturday carrying a folder and a plan. "We just need your name on it," my mother said as she slid papers across my kitchen table. "It's only a formality. You have good credit. It protects the family." My father added the part that convinced me. "You'd be helping your brother build something. He needs a boost. You already have yours." I was 23. More than anything, I wanted to finally be the daughter who helped instead of the daughter expected to be fine. So I signed. I didn't simply co-sign. They added me as a co-borrower on the loan and note. My name sat beside Brett's like a partner. I also contributed $4,000 from my savings toward the down payment when promised gift money disappeared. They assured me I'd be removed within a year or 2 after Brett got established. I believed them. That was the last time trust cost me because eventually I learned. But the signature remained, and so did my name, for 11 years, on a house my entire family claimed they had purchased for their son. I want to clarify something because I know how it sounds. I didn't remain on that loan for 11 years because I was weak. I tried repeatedly to remove myself. But there's a trap many people don't understand. As a co-borrower, you can't simply walk away. The only way your name comes off a mortgage is if the other borrower refinances it alone. And Brett never qualified. Every time I pushed, the bank gave the same answer. His income was unstable. His credit remained poor. The loan stayed exactly where it was, both names attached. That left me with a choice that wasn't really a choice. If Brett missed payments and defaulted, it wouldn't only damage him, it would destroy my credit too. The same credit I was using to build a company. So when he came up short, and that happened often, I quietly covered the difference. A few $100s here, $1,200 there. I recorded every dollar in a notebook inside my desk. Not because I expected to use it, because nurses document everything. You record what you give so you don't lose track. Brett never knew. My parents never knew. They were too busy telling neighbors how they bought their son a house to notice that the credit supporting it belonged to the daughter they claimed needed nothing. The golden son was standing on the strong daughter's name. He simply never saw the foundation beneath him. While I quietly supported Brett's house, I was building something of my own. Nobody asked about it. It started with Patricia. Her agency kept sending different aides who didn't know her medications or routines. I began covering gaps myself. Then other families heard about me. They wanted someone dependable, someone who showed up, someone who treated their parents like people rather than assignments. I hired 1 aide, then 3. I named the company Hearthstead Home Care because a hearth is what a home is built around, and I had spent my life helping keep other people's homes warm. I operated from a used sedan with 200,000 miles and a folding table in my apartment. I learned payroll at midnight. I learned scheduling, billing, licensing, and every difficult piece of running a caregiving business. 8 years later, Hearthstead employed 90 caregivers across 3 counties. We became known as the agency that never abandoned families. That reputation became our greatest asset. Eventually, a larger healthcare group approached us. They wanted to buy. I spent 4 months in due diligence meetings filled with attorneys, refusing to compromise on one condition. Every caregiver kept their job. The day the deal closed, Hearthstead sold for $25 million. I sat alone in my car inside a parking garage and called Patricia. Not my mother. Patricia. She was the only person I wanted to tell. Good, she said. Now, don't let anyone make you feel small because of it. I should have written that down too. The sale closed in late September, 3 months before Christmas. I told almost nobody. People assume you announce something like that you want your family to finally notice you. I didn't. I knew exactly what would happen once they heard about the money. I had seen it happen before. Money doesn't change a family. It simply amplifies what is already there. So I stayed quiet. I paid off my own mortgage in Columbus. I invested most of the remaining money and left it untouched. Experience had taught me that people who never earned anything are often eager to spend someone else's. I even took another careful step. I called the bank holding Brett's mortgage and asked once again how to remove my name. Same answer. Brett needed to refinance. Brett still couldn't qualify, so I left it alone and planned to deal with it after the holidays. I almost made it. What I didn't anticipate was Ashley. My brother's wife had a habit of scrolling through everything online. One day, she found a local business article mentioning my company. Hartstead Home Care acquired in an 8-figure deal. My photo appeared in the corner. She read it twice. Then she picked up the phone and called my mother. And just like that, the broken storm door latch of that entire year finally gave way. I know how those calls went because Ashley enjoys having an audience. Later, she told the story as though she had helped me. She slowly read the headline to my mother. 8 figures. 25 million, the article estimated. My mother fell silent, then asked her to read it again. I understood exactly what happened because suddenly my phone started ringing more than it had all year. The family that had overlooked me for 34 years became very interested. My mother called Tuesday, sweet as holiday ham. We never see you anymore. Come down early this year. Brett texted me, which he never did. Too cheerful. Too many exclamation points. My father called to ask whether my car situation was okay, which was his way of circling around money without mentioning it. I watched it happen calmly because I had predicted every move. My job taught me to plan for falls. You look at stairs and immediately see where someone might slip. I looked at my family and saw exactly where things were going. The only question was what I would do when we got there. I had a house with my name on it, a notebook full of quiet payments, and a brother who was about to discover that the foundation beneath his life belonged to me. I just hadn't lifted it yet. That week, I began preparing to. I almost skipped the trip entirely. Something in my gut told me not to go, but Patricia was 91, and I had promised her I would stop running from rooms where I had every right to sit. So I went. If you've ever driven toward a family gathering already preparing yourself emotionally, gripping the steering wheel before you even arrive, then you know exactly how I felt taking that exit. Comment, been there. Let's continue. The calls kept coming, and their purpose kept changing. First came affection, then came requests. By the second week of December, my mother stopped pretending. Your brother's going through a rough stretch, she said. You know how expensive a house can be. I knew better than she did. I had been feeding that house for 11 years. He's too proud to ask, she continued. But family helps. You're in a position now. There it was, the position. He could use some help getting caught up. Then she said what she had always said. You don't need it. He does. The same law she had followed my entire life. You don't need it. He does. As if need was the only thing that mattered, and competence made you undeserving of care. I sat at my kitchen table in Columbus, the same table where I had signed those papers at 23. And something old inside me finally became cold and clear. I didn't argue. That was the old role. The role where I explained myself and lost anyway. Instead, I said I'd think about it. Then I hung up. And for the first time in 34 years of being the busy one, I called a lawyer. Not to fight them, to understand exactly where I stood regarding a house I had been quietly supporting since I was practically a kid. If they wanted to discuss who deserved what, I wanted the truth documented before Christmas dinner. I scheduled the appointment for Thursday. Aaron Webb's office sat above a bakery, which felt like a good sign. Anyone who works above the smell of fresh bread can't be entirely unpleasant. He handled real estate and elder law. In his 60s, the kind of calm that comes from watching families create problems for decades. I explained everything, the co-borrower paperwork, the down payment, the 11 years of payments, the notebook. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back. "Let me make sure I understand," he said. "You are not a cosigner. You are a co-borrower. Your name is on the note and likely on the title." He paused. "That's not insignificant, Miss Palmer. That's ownership." For 11 years, I had viewed myself as Brett's safety net. Aaron was telling me I legally owned part of the house. "So what can I do?" I asked. He spread his hands. "Several things. You could sue your brother to recover payments. You could force a sale and recover your share. You could create a lot of noise." That was the option everyone expected. The lawsuit, the confrontation, the public exposure. Aaron must have seen something in my expression because he added gently, "But noise keeps you tied to the house longer, and tied to them. Think about what you actually want to leave with." I told him I would think about it. I was getting very good at saying that. Before I left, Aaron explained one more thing. And this detail changed everything. A cosigner owes debt but owns nothing. A co-borrower owes debt and owns part of the property. "You have rights," he said. "You cannot simply be removed without consent." Then he explained the most important part. The only clean way off that loan is for your brother to refinance entirely into his own name, and he must qualify independently. "Yes," I said. We looked at each other. We both knew Brett. "In 11 years," Aaron asked carefully, "has your brother improved financially enough to qualify on his own today?" I nearly laughed. Brett had refinanced that house multiple times. Each refinance pulled out more cash. Each one leaned further on equity my payments had helped preserve. His house was a tower built on borrowing, and my name sat beneath it. "No," I said. "He can't qualify. He never could." Aaron nodded slowly. "Then you have more leverage than you realize. The question isn't whether you can act. The question is how much noise you want to make when you do." I drove back to Columbus with two possible paths ahead. One loud, a lawsuit, a public accounting of every hidden debt. The other quieter, less visible, but already waiting. I just hadn't chosen it yet. That evening, I did what I do best. I documented everything. I pulled every record available to me as a co-borrower. There were many because the bank had been mailing notices to me for years, and I had filed them without truly reading them. Statements, payoff quotes, refinance histories. Spread across my kitchen table, Brett's house told a story nobody in my family had ever heard spoken aloud. The original loan had been reasonable. Then came refinance after refinance. A boat one year, a business idea another. Even tuition my parents believed they had fully paid had quietly been rolled into the mortgage. Every refinance increased the balance. Every refinance included my name. Because you cannot refinance a co-borrower loan without the co-borrower. Each time, papers were slid across a table. Each time, I signed where Brett pointed. Trusting. The way I had been taught. I never read beyond my own signature. That night was the first time I laid the entire history out and actually examined it. The house my parents proudly claimed they bought for their son was leveraged almost to the limit. And the only reason it had survived was because the daughter they overlooked had quietly kept it afloat. I sat there for a long time. Outside, my own street was dark, peaceful, and fully paid for. I thought about every Christmas I had left that house feeling like the struggling relative. The truth was the opposite. I wasn't the family charity case. I was the foundation. They had simply built the house facing another direction so nobody had to look at me. Something inside me became very still. Not angry, just still. Tomorrow I would find the original folder. I wanted to see my own signature again. The folder sat in the bottom drawer of my desk. A plain manila folder worn at the corners from 11 years of moving around without being opened. The closing documents. I made coffee, sat down, and read every page the way I read patient charts. Slowly, carefully, looking for what mattered. Page 4 contained the note, and there, beside my brother's signature, was mine. Georgia Palmer, 23 years old, blue ink, careful handwriting, the signature of a young woman who believed she was finally being trusted. Co-borrower, not co-signer, owner. I rested my finger on it for a long time. Then I pulled out the notebook, the real notebook, the one containing every shortfall I had covered for 11 years. For the first time, I added everything together. I had never calculated the total before, $71,420. That was how much money I had quietly poured into Brett's house to keep it standing. more than $71,000, in a family where I had paid my own apartment deposit with tip money at 18. I didn't cry. I won't pretend I did. I simply looked at page 4, the blue signature, the total in the notebook, and finally understood that for years I'd been telling myself a story that wasn't true. I had been telling myself the wrong story my entire life. The story where I was the one taking from the family, when in reality the balance sheet told the opposite story. That signature was the most important detail in everything that followed. So remember it. Page 4, my name beside his, $71,420. Everything that happened at Christmas came back to those 3 facts. And only one person in the family knew they existed, me. The next morning, I called Aaron and told him to begin preparing the case, the recovery claim, the petition. I wanted to know exactly what it would take to sue Brett for the $71,000 and force the sale of the house. Part of me wanted the family to feel it coming. Aaron warned me again, the same calm warning. A lawsuit would keep me tied to them for a year or more. I said I understood. At the time, I convinced myself it was the strong choice. The choice where I stopped being invisible. The choice where everyone finally had to look at the numbers. For several days, that was exactly where I was headed. Then word spread. It always does in families. Ashley heard from someone that I had hired a lawyer. My mother called, shaken for the first time. She demanded to know whether I was really planning to drag my brother into court over a house. I didn't deny it. I let them sit with the possibility. I let them imagine a courtroom. The public exposure of everything they had spent years hiding. I'm not proud of how satisfying that felt. Then one morning it caught up with me. I was standing in the shower, mentally rehearsing testimony, arguing with an imaginary version of Brett. My jaw was tight. The water had gone cold. I had spent 34 years living inside my family's system, and now I was designing a new version of it with a courtroom attached. Late one night, sitting alone with the folder and that number, something kept bothering me. A lawsuit would place me across from Brett's attorney for a year. It would keep my name connected to that house through every hearing. Once again, I would be carrying the weight of it all, just in a different building. Maybe I would win, but I would still be holding the house. And I was exhausted from holding the house. I didn't yet know what the other path looked like, but I knew the loud path led back to the same chair beside the broken door. So I went to see Patricia. Patricia was 91 now, still sharper than people half her age. She lived in a clean apartment inside the assisted living community I had helped her choose, and she still made tea like it was an important ritual. I told her everything: the company sale, the house, the signature, the lawyer, the $71,000. She listened the way she always had, hands folded, missing nothing. When I finished, she didn't immediately tell me I was right. Instead, she asked a question. "Georgia," she said, "do you want to win or do you want to be free?" I opened my mouth to answer both. She raised one finger before I could. "They aren't the same thing," she said. "Winning keeps you in the fight. Freedom means walking away." She took a sip of tea. "You've spent your whole life in their ring. Even your revenge keeps you there." The lawsuit, the courtroom, making them watch. That's still performing for people who never applauded you. I sat quietly. "You don't owe anyone your backbone," she said. "Not your money, not your years, and not the next 3 years sitting in court trying to prove a point they will never admit." She set down her cup. "Don't fight them for the house. Just stop holding it up and let the house tell the truth you've been too kind to say." Something shifted inside me, quietly, permanently. I had been preparing to throw the weight of that house back at my family. Patricia was telling me to simply set it down, step away, and watch. For 11 years, I had been the thing keeping everything upright. The strongest move available to me was doing nothing. I only had to stop. I drove home with Patricia's question repeating in my mind. Somewhere on that gray stretch of highway, everything clicked. I didn't need a lawsuit. I didn't need a courtroom. I didn't need a public reckoning. I didn't need to raise my voice. I only needed to stop being the foundation. Here's what I finally understood. For 11 years, the reason Brett's house stayed standing was because I quietly covered every shortage before it became a problem. If I stopped doing that, the situation would reveal itself naturally. Brett would fall behind the way he always had. Only this time, no hidden payment would arrive to rescue him. And the only solution left would be the same one I had pointed to for more than a decade. Refinance the house into his own name, something he could not do. He hadn't qualified in 11 years. And with the property leveraged as heavily as it was, he certainly wouldn't qualify now. Without me, the numbers had only one conclusion. The house would need to be sold to satisfy the loan. And when that happened, my name would finally come off it. I would be free. Not through conflict, through removal. The response my family would never expect wasn't an attack. It was an absence. I would simply remove the one thing they never noticed was there. It was the most natural thing I could do. A nurse doesn't break something to prove a point. She stops supporting what was never healthy and allows reality to reveal itself. For 34 years, my family insisted I didn't need anything, while Brett needed everything. Fine, I'd give them exactly the family structure they had created, one where I gave nothing, and then we'd finally see who had really been supporting whom. I called Aaron and told him I was changing direction. No lawsuit. He was silent for a moment. Then I heard something close to respect in his voice. Tell me. So I did. I explained that I wanted to take 2 simple legal steps. First, I would stop covering Brett's shortages immediately. No more quiet payments. Second, I wanted to notify the loan servicer in writing that I would no longer cure missed payments and formally request the process for removing my interest from the property. You're well within your rights, Aaron said. You're not obligated to subsidize a co-borrower forever. That afternoon, he helped me draft the letter. It was short, ordinary, the kind of document that changes lives without making a speech. I informed the servicer of my position. I requested payoff information and details for removing my name. I stated clearly that I would not cover any future shortages. Then I signed it. Georgia Palmer, the same name from page 4, only 11 years older. I mailed it 4 days before Christmas. And I want you to notice something. The real turning point of this story did not happen at the dinner table. It happened quietly in a post office on a Wednesday afternoon. No speeches, no dramatic reveal, no audience. By the time I drove to Dayton for Christmas, the decision had already been made. The floor was already gone. The house was already falling. They just didn't know it yet. I would sit at that table beside the broken door when the first crack reached them, and all I planned to do was tell the truth once. Calmly, then leave. People often ask why I didn't simply write a check and keep the peace. Here's the reality about being a family's safety net. Nobody thanks the net. Most people don't even notice it exists. They only notice it the day it's gone and they hit the ground they assumed was solid. I had been that net for 11 years. That December, I decided to see what happened when I stepped aside. If you've ever been someone's safety net, stay with me for what came next and be sure to subscribe. The early Christmas gathering was the Sunday I mentioned before. The ham, the gold-rimmed plates, the chair beside the door. That was when the money entered the conversation. We were halfway through dinner when Ashley put down her fork, looked across the table at me with a bright smile, and addressed the room. So are we really not going to talk about Georgia's $25 million? The starburst clock ticked into the silence. My father stopped chewing. My mother touched her collar. Brett looked at me as if I had been hiding a completely different life. What is she talking about? He asked. So I told them. Simply, there was no reason to hide it anymore. I had built a company. I had sold it. The sale was successful. I kept the explanation brief and calm, exactly as Patricia had taught me. Then I watched the mood of the room change. My mother's shock lasted maybe 4 seconds before becoming something else. Calculation. I knew that look. I had seen it my entire life. The same look that always appeared before, "We can only back one horse." She reached across the table and placed her hand over mine, warm, slightly damp. "Sweetheart," she said, "that's wonderful. Such a blessing for this family. Not for me, for the family." Then she lowered her voice. "And your brother is struggling right now." There it was, the old rule, refreshed and ready. "You don't need it." She squeezed my hand. "He does." The same belief system that had shaped my childhood, repeated over a holiday dinner. I didn't pull my hand away. I simply looked at her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel any need to explain why she was wrong. After that, things moved quickly. Once a number is spoken aloud, people start making plans for it. My father cleared his throat and began discussing the importance of keeping wealth inside the family. Brett gained confidence and leaned forward. "Look, I'd never ask," he said while asking, "but the house has been tight. If you could float me something, maybe a loan." He named a number, then a larger one. By the end of dinner, a loan had somehow become my responsibility, as though my company had been a family project and I had selfishly collected the reward alone. Ashley delivered the line they had clearly practiced. "After everything your parents did for you growing up, you'd really let your brother lose his house?" I almost admired the confidence, everything my parents had done for me. I reviewed the list silently. The apartment deposit they refused to co-sign, the tuition they paid for Brett twice, the truck, the rent, the house carrying my name, the $4,000 I contributed to the down payment. Everything they had done for me could fit in a thimble. Everything they had taken could fill the entire house. But I didn't say any of that. Not yet. Brett mistook my silence for surrender. "Family money comes back to family, Georgia," he said, as though he were quoting wisdom instead of inventing it. "That's just how it works." I looked at my brother, a man who had never refinanced his way out of a problem, a man sitting inside a house he didn't realize was already sinking, and he was lecturing me about how money worked. "Let me think about it," I said, and I meant it. There was one more thing I needed to confirm before Christmas. I called Aaron Monday morning. Before I left that Sunday, my father followed me onto the porch. The storm door slammed behind us. The latch caught on nothing, just as it always had. Dennis stood with his hands in his pockets, staring out at the yard. For a moment, he was simply an aging man standing in the cold. "Your mother shouldn't push like that," he said quietly. It was the closest thing to support I had heard from him in 34 years. "I know things haven't been equal between you and your brother," he continued. "I do know that." Something loosened slightly inside my chest. I waited. For a moment, I thought he might apologize, and I realized how much I had wanted that my entire life. Then he sighed and missed the moment. "But you turned out fine, Georgie. You always do. Brett isn't strong like you. He needs help. We did what we had to do for the child who couldn't make it alone." There it was again, the same calculation, only wearing a sadder expression. Because I survived, I deserved less. Because Brett struggled, he deserved more. My strength had always been used as the reason to give me less support. Then he admitted something else. Years earlier, he had pulled equity from his own home to help Brett. His retirement savings were thinner than my mother realized. He was scared, and I believed him. I genuinely felt sorry for him, but fear doesn't create ownership over my life. "I'm sorry you're scared, Dad," I said, and I meant it. "But you invested your safety net in the wrong son." I drove back to Columbus after dark. He never asked which son I meant. Meanwhile, the letter I mailed continued doing its quiet work while my family discussed ways to spend my money. 3 days before Christmas, the loan servicer processed my notice. The December payment came up short, exactly as it often had, but this time no payment arrived from Columbus to fill the gap. For the first time in 11 years, the shortage remained uncovered. The account slipped into delinquency. Brett received the notice that same week. I know exactly what it looked like because I had been receiving those notices for years. Past due, action required, a number, a deadline. Brett had never seen one before because I always made sure he didn't have to. He had no idea what had changed. He had no idea the change was me. Finally absent, he called my parents in a panic instead of calling me. In his mind, I was simply the sister with money, not the person who had quietly been holding up his house. The irony was hard to miss. For that entire week, he believed his wealthy sister was refusing to help, never realizing the help had been there all along and had merely stopped. My mother called in a panic, insisting the bank must have made a mistake because Brett's mortgage was behind. I let the call go to voicemail. There was no mistake. For the first time, reality was arriving on its own schedule. I didn't need to do anything at the dinner table. The house was already speaking. They simply didn't know how to read the message. I had learned years earlier. Brett finally called me the night before Christmas Eve. No exclamation marks this time. He was shouting before I even said hello. The mortgage was behind. The bank was sending notices. Did I know anything about it? The timing seemed awfully convenient, didn't it? Right after everyone learned about my money, I let him finish. Then I said the calmest thing I had ever said to him. Brett, refinance the house into your own name. Silence. Like I've been asking for 11 years, I continued. Take my name off it, make it yours, the way Mom and Dad have always told everyone it already was. More silence. Then came the quieter voice beneath the anger. I can't, he said. They told me I don't qualify. My credit, my income, I can't get approved. And there it was. The first completely honest thing my brother had said to me in years. I know, I said gently. You never could. That's why my name had been on the loan since he was 26. I could hear him trying to understand the math he had never been forced to face. Wait, he said. Your name? On my house? On our house, I replied. Page 4. Co-borrower. I put $4,000 into the down payment, and I've covered your shortages for 11 years. A long silence followed. Then he whispered, Why is it behind now? Because I stopped, I said. That's all. I just stopped. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I simply let my brother sit inside a consequence for the first time in his life. See you at dinner, I said. Then I hung up. Tomorrow I would tell the entire truth once, and then I would leave. Of course, Brett called our mother the moment we ended the call, and of course she called me, and of course, she had already decided I was the villain. That's the challenge with a family equation that has always worked in one direction. Even the truth ends up recorded on the wrong side of the balance sheet. How could you? My mother said, not really asking a question. How could you do this to your brother at Christmas? I asked what exactly she believed I had done. You're punishing him, she replied. You've always been jealous of him. And now that you have money, you're using it to destroy him. Jealous? I had spent $71,000 keeping a roof over her son's head, money she never knew about. Somehow, she still managed to call that jealousy. I'm not giving him anything, and I'm not taking anything away, I said. I'm simply no longer paying for a house that was never supposed to be my responsibility. But she wasn't hearing me. She never really had. Instead, she returned to the phrase she always used. We did the best we could with what we had, she said. We could only ever back one horse, Georgia. You know that. We could only ever back one horse. The sentence that shaped my entire childhood was now being used to justify leaving her son trapped in a debt I had quietly supported for over a decade. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It sounded like a confession. She had explained this family to me 34 years ago, and I had spent my life trying to prove her wrong by becoming indispensable. I was finished doing that. I'll see you at dinner, Mom, I said. On Christmas Eve morning, I called Aaron one final time. I wanted to walk into that house knowing exactly what was true and say nothing I couldn't support. I asked him to confirm where things stood legally. As always, he was careful. Here's what I can tell you, he said. You have legally stopped covering the payment shortages. The account is now delinquent. If your brother cannot bring it current and cannot refinance in his own name, eventually the lender will move toward the remedies outlined in the loan documents. Which means, I asked, which means the property will likely be sold to satisfy the debt. Then he added a clarification. The timeline isn't yours to control. The loan servicer has its own process. A court could become involved. No one can guarantee exactly how or when it ends. I appreciated that he wasn't making promises. And my name? When the loan is satisfied, whether through sale or refinance, your name comes off. You walk away clean. That part is clear. That was enough. I wasn't going to that dinner to threaten anyone or predict outcomes. I was going to explain what I had done, what was true, and what I would no longer do. Then I would put on my coat and return to a home that belonged entirely to me, without anyone else's name attached to it, and without carrying anyone else's burden. I packed a small overnight bag in case I wanted to leave quickly. I didn't intend to stay long. I would say it once, calmly, in front of everyone. And then, for the first time in 34 years, I would let the door slam behind me and not turn back to fix the latch. Christmas dinner was at 6. I arrived exactly at 6 because I wasn't going to give anyone the satisfaction of saying I was late. The house smelled exactly as it always had. Clove-studded ham, pine, the ceramic Christmas tree sitting on the sideboard with its small colored lights displayed every year of my life. The starburst clock ticked above the table. The good china was out again, gold rims catching the light, 6 place settings, Brett at the head, my chair by the door. Some things never change, even when everything underneath them is shifting. Everyone was already there. My mother sat rigid and certain of her position. My father avoided eye contact. Brett looked exhausted, pale, and sleepless. Ashley sat beside him, watching me with the expression of someone observing a storm she helped create. 2 aunts sat farther down the table, clearly informed ahead of time and prepared to disapprove. The entire audience was assembled. I took my seat beside the broken storm door. The latch clicked against the frame in the December wind. That familiar rattle, the sound of the one thing in the house nobody except me ever bothered to keep shut. I folded my hands and waited. Years of working with frightened people had taught me something important. You don't rush to fill silence simply because it feels uncomfortable. You let it do its job. So I let it. Across the table, my brother, who had always been handed the head seat and never had to earn it, opened his mouth, and the evening finally began to unravel. Brett didn't even make it through grace. Before everyone had finished serving their plates, he put down his fork and looked directly at me. His eyes were already wet. "I'm going to lose the house," he said. His voice broke. "Do you understand that? They're going to take my house." My mother immediately reached for him. My father stared at the ham. "I have a wife," Brett continued. "I have a life there, and you're sitting on $25 million. He said the number like an accusation, like it had somehow been taken from him. "You could fix this with one phone call, and you won't." I kept my hands folded. "How much do you think would fix it, Brett?" I asked calmly. He answered before thinking, $15 million. The table went silent. Even my aunts looked surprised. 2 weeks earlier, he had talked about a loan. Now, frightened and desperate, he had jumped straight to $15 million, as if 8 years of my work belonged to everyone at the table. "At least 15, he added more quietly, just to be safe. Then my 37-year-old brother slid from his chair at the head of the table and dropped to his knees on my mother's kitchen floor. He was crying. "Please," he said. "Please, Georgia, you're my sister. Don't let them take everything." My mother looked at her son on the floor and directed 34 years of expectation at me. She stood so quickly her chair scraped backward. "Look at what you're doing to him," she shouted. "Look at your brother. You did this. You stole his future, Georgia. You walked in here with your money and stole his future." The clock continued ticking. The latch rattled. My brother cried on the kitchen floor. My mother called me a thief. Every face at the table turned toward me, waiting for the reaction they had always gotten before. Waiting for me to fold. Waiting for me to give in. I did neither. I looked at all of them calmly, and for the first time all evening, I felt peaceful. Because I was the only person in that room who knew the full truth. And I was about to say it once, clearly. After that, I would never explain myself in that house again.